Anthropic just released a very important update to Claude Code, and I highly recommend that all of you that are using Claude Code update Claude Code as soon as possible. In this video, I'm going to share with you what exactly did they publish, plus approximately 7 new things that I added to my Claude Code workflow that I believe will be very valuable for you, because I know that they are valuable for me, and I'm assuming that they will be valuable for you as well. Before I dive into these adjustments or tweaks that I recommend doing to your workflow, let me start with sharing the new update, because this was the whole reason for the video. In general, if you guys have seen my recent videos about beads, this is kind of substitution for beads, and they actually claim that they were inspired by beads. Beads is a layer or a GitHub repository that allows your agent to have persistent memory. What does that mean? Basically, it created Git issues for all of your to-do, and also they created a persistent to-do in your local repository. Now, the problem these days with Claude Code, when you didn't use beads, that it did write a to-do list, but as soon as the session has ended, basically the whole to-do was deleted, and you had to start from scratch. So memory wasn't persistent. So what they did now, and I read about this in the article by this Anthropic employee, which is great. I really like his content. You should follow him as well. Basically, he said, tasks are a new abstraction for coordinating many pieces of work across projects. Claude can create tasks with dependencies on each other that are stored in the metadata, which mirrors now how projects work. Additionally, tasks are stored in the file system so that multiple sub-agents or sessions can collaborate on them. When one session updates a task, that is broadcasted to all sessions currently working on the same task list. You can ask Claude to create tasks right now. It's especially useful when spinning up sub-agents. Now, there's also this capability. Basically, if you want to make all sessions collaborate on a single task list, you just update the environment variable to have this name of the task. How does this look like in practice? So I asked him to generate the tasks. These are all the tasks for something that I'm building. Then I asked him regarding blockers and dependencies. So it broke down what are the blockers and dependencies. And basically, we have a to-do list. So this is very, very valuable. I think it was much needed. Of course, if you've used beads, so you didn't really, beads somewhat solve this, but I'm probably going to remove beads now, and I'm going to move to the native solution, which reminds me of a discussion that I had today with a friend of mine that I believe is relevant. He asked me if I read about this new repository. I think it's called Oh My Open Code, or something like this. And I told him that in terms of my philosophy, I'm not going to check new projects so often anymore, because, and I'm sure that you guys have been observing this as well, the good projects, the valuable projects, usually rise to the top by YouTubers, by influencers, by people that are speaking about them. And eventually, if the solution is really, really valuable, either Claude Code is going to implement this, or Open Code is going to implement this. And this is exactly what happens with speeds. So it was really, really valuable. Many people adopted it. So Claude Code just added this. Now, for me, I don't want to waste time on checking new repositories that are not validated, don't have many stars, and don't have many followers, because more often than not, it's just noise, and it's better to keep on building. So in my opinion, from now on, I'm not going to check any new repository or all the upcoming new repositories that are doing Ralph Loop at scale, or kind of BMAT clones or Get Shit Done clones that are allow you to do better spec-driven development. I don't think that it makes so much sense to keep on testing new stuff. Instead, just double down on what is already working, which is, for most of the people, Claude Code. open code, and many people are also enjoying Codex 5.2 these days. Cool. Moving forward. So, what has been working well for me recently is, first of all, I realized that I wanted to shorten the feedback loop from building to testing, because obviously it's all the time a matter of fast iterations. And I noticed that it takes a lot of time to validate everything. And since I'm using Claude Code, I kind of need to babysit him. So I thought of, instead of building and then testing, I'm going to insist on doing test-driven development in the plan mode. So from now on, in the plan mode, the plan starts by writing the tests that the actual feature needs to pass. And afterwards, I ask in the plan, in the prompt of the plan, I ask Claude Code to think up front about which sub-agents we can spin concurrently, because some things in the feature might not collide, might not overlap, so why do it sequentially if we can do it concurrently? And the latest addition to this workflow, and in general I've been using this quite frequently lately, is I've added a Codex MCP into Claude Code, and very often I use Codex MCP to write the test for me in the plan mode, and then I know that Codex wrote the test, and on the other hand, Claude is trying to pass the test when actually building. So this seems very valuable. So far, so good. The fact that we are starting with the end in mind, with the test, seems to be shortening the whole feedback loop, and I'm really enjoying the new and fresh perspective that Codex is providing to my workflows. Since I've been enjoying this, I also added Codex in another skill that I'm using very often, which is called reinforce. So before this, I had this skill reinforce, which basically took the chunk of code that we just wrote, and then it used to spin 5 new agents. All of them are like Anthropic agents using Opus 4.5 under the hood. One was in charge of finding bugs. The other one was in charge of finding security breaches. The third one was in charge of improving UX UI. The fourth one was in charge of improving performance, and the fifth one, I guess, was just, I don't remember exactly, but it was more of like taking a broad overview about the changes in the code. All the agents were spinning concurrently, and they were saying what can be improved in the recent changes that we did in the code base. Now what I did, I changed this, and I have 3 different agents of Codex and 3 different agents from Anthropic. All 6 of them, they read the code. Mind you, I don't care about tokens. I mean, so if you're token sensitive, so this might not be the best solutions. So they both analyze the latest code, and it's not exactly both because it's 3 in each side, 3 Codex agents and 3 Anthropic agents. They consolidate all the ideas, all the tests, all the features that needs to be improved, and then they start adjusting everything and fixing everything. This is also very valuable because what Codex usually finds is completely different from what the Opus 4.5 is finding. This is why I find it so valuable. Besides this, what I've recently added is an adjustment to the status line. Basically, the most important adjustment is I added this, which basically shows me how far I am from compactation. So 25% of the context, 25% out of 200K tokens. And I also had like a status line update in which I wrote what is the amount of recent errors in the last 24 hours, but this is only for repositories that I'm monitoring. So basically, it wrote down over here how many errors were found in the last 24 hours, and this originated in an idea. I figured out that all my conversations, all your conversations with Claude Code are saved locally. So I actually wrote a custom command that allows me to search all my conversations, and I wanted to see if I keep on encountering the same errors again and again, which I obviously did, and this annoyed me, so I wanted to solve this. So what I did, I wrote a script that uses Claude Code to go over all the recent conversations, because they are all located in the same location on your computer. And basically it skims through all the recent conversations, and it extracts all the errors that we discussed during the conversation. And this allows me to have like I guess a better observability regarding what errors keep on showing up. So this is something that I added as well to the status line. It doesn't appear here because this is a new project. What else did I add? So codecs, I said, okay, a few new custom commands that I added. So first of all, a new custom command that basically I write here, work tree, and it spins, it basically creates a new work tree, and it opens it in a new browser in Tmux. So this is just convenient because I use it very often. I also made a lot of adjustments to the permissions to encounter them less. I mean, to be less prompted to provide my approval. The next thing that I did is I created a Docker container that basically, if I want to do stuff in YOLO mode, so I can just write Docker. Let's assume that I want to do research. So I don't mind doing research in YOLO mode because I don't want to be prompted to provide permissions, and basically it doesn't, very often the research has nothing to do with my code base. So what I do here, I click this and it goes to a Docker container. It opens it, assuming that it is not running already, and then it conducts the research because it opens a Tmux terminal. It opens Claude Code and it starts conducting the research in YOLO mode. So this has been, I wouldn't say ultra valuable so far, but it's been, I mean, I need to mess around more with the idea because I just haven't had the opportunity to use it so often. But I think it makes sense to use YOLO more often. And if you're using YOLO mode, you do want to do it in an isolated environment. So just an idea that I suggest that you guys consider implementing. And the last thing is a custom command that I added, which is called thinking critically. Let me see if I didn't miss anything. Yes, okay, so this is thinking critically. Basically, I realized that when writing the PRD, of course I'm using the ask question tool, and I try to be as precise as possible. But on the other hand, there is a lot of stuff that I don't know. And I realized that I wanna try to use Claude in order to challenge my assumptions. And I also want to ask him what are some assumptions that he's making regarding my requirements. And I want us to weigh together like the trade-off, stuff like this. So basically, whenever I write thinking critically, and I can add over here like what I'm thinking about specifically. What Claude does, it basically breaks down the idea or the subject. First, it clarifies the problem. Then it states the constraints. Then it tells me what are the assumptions that he is making. And this is very important because based on the assumptions that he is making are very crucial, because once you know what are the assumptions that he's making, you know how to adjust the plan. For example, over here, implicit assumptions I'm making, user uses bash, not the alternative. User always CDs into project before running Claude. So let's assume that this is incorrect and I don't always CD into the project before running Claude. So now I know this before I start generating the solution. So this is important. Folder names are unique and valid identifiers. if it's incorrect, so we need to handle this in the planning phase and the execution phase. So I think this is one of the most important things that I've added to the workflow. So understanding what is the assumption that Claude is making. Then we explore the design space, a few different approaches. Then we do a trade-off analysis for different elements. Then we do like a failure first analysis, or thinking what can go wrong, what is the likelihood, what is the severity. Then we figure out boundaries and invariants. Then we think about observability and control. Then we discuss reversibility and entropy control. Then we have like an adversarial review. So basically this is a paranoid staff engineer and his objections. So for example, why wrap a CLI at all? This is fragile and will break. You're solving a tool limitation with a shell hack. File a feature request instead. Over-engineering, under-specified, stuff like this. Then we do an AI delegation assessment. What makes sense to delegate and what is safe for AI. Then we do a decision summary, like a short-term, long-term, remaining unknowns, follow-up questions, dependency mapping, migration and rollout strategy, security threat modeling, blast radius analysis, and operational runbook preview. And now, a lot of this is very often an overkill, but when you're planning big features or a new solution from scratch, I think it's very important. Some of this is more important actually for new features, some of this is more important for starting from scratch. But basically what I did here, I asked Claude, we thought together about different engineering principles, and we said, let's take a critical thinking approach to engineering, and then let's just create a skill that allows us to take universal engineering principles, synthesizes with critical thinking, and basically created a skill based on this, which allows us to think through about all the challenges or stuff that might arise when building. This has been very, very useful for me. It's not exactly for vibe coding, it's more if you're really building stuff and you really want to think this through. And I think this is pretty much it for today. Let me think. Yeah, that's it. If you guys have any ideas or stuff that you've built or found useful, please feel free to share it, obviously, in the comment section. Like and subscribe, of course. And until next time, keep on automating.